Get him!
Hey guys, today I have got my Sinden arcade pedal. So it just came in the mail. Got the box and wanted to do a little unboxing for you guys and let you see it and get a little insight to what you're going to be getting once yours comes in the mail. Alright, I got my tool. Now the funny thing is, this is not how it's going to be taped. I came home, my wife had already opened the box, and the black box, which you'll see in a second, was waiting for me on my desk. And I said, babe, I really wanted to do an unboxing. And she's like, what's that? So here we are. Anyway, after I explained it to her, she goes, oh, well, give me a second. I still have the box. I'm gonna go tape it back up. That way you can unbox it. So I laughed. She taped it up. She put it back in here, which is why you see tear marks. She had already tore this open. She was curious. I guess she was expecting something. I don't know. Anyway, so she taped it back up. Here we are doing the unboxing. Voila! Definitely a much cooler package though than the guns, I will say. Let's go ahead and get this open. But yeah, very nice box here. This is actually probably really good for traveling with it and taking it where you want to go. So Sinden arcade foot pedal. All right, let's see what we got. Nice foam packaging and very nicely wrapped. I like that. USB cable, and here's the pedal. Wow, now that is sturdy. This thing has got some, ooh. I'm not sure how much this weighs, but yeah, that's got some weight to it. So that is, okay, so that is nice. All of this is metal. This looks like a matte, maybe a slight gloss black finish. The pedal is very nice also, solid metal. It's got some textured here, so your foot can grab on and not slip. Also very nice. Definitely feels like a true, authentic arcade foot pedal. On the bottom we have, these are very nice rubber in case you're worried about it slipping. So if you have hardwood floors or vinyl or something like that, should be just fine. This is a very high quality. I like this material. This feels like it came off the back of one of those trucks, you know, those bumpers that you don't want to bump into with your car. It's very solid. Good flexibility in the movement. Very clicky clunky. I mean, you definitely know when you're pushing this thing and it's made the click. Let me see if you can hear it. Right there. Yeah, so you have to engage it probably right there. So I would say 3/4 of the way. Yep, at least 3/4 of the way. Yep, very nice. But yeah, these are on the website also, you know, if you want to order them. They are a bit pricey, but you know, everything's gone up in price right now. So the cable, this is as long as the Sinden light guns, or maybe even slightly longer by a hair, a couple inches maybe. Very long cord though, very nice. All right, I'll wrap this up real quick. And so far I like the packaging, I like the materials, definitely like the length of the cord. Now I'm going to have this hooked up to the Pi. You can have this hooked up to your PC or just about anything now. If you check the operating systems that we support Fedora, Ubuntu, all different flavors. Well, not all, but a majority of the flavors. Just take a look at the wiki and it'll list out which ones have been tested. If you have your own system that has not been tested and you know that it works, let us know and we'll update it. But yeah, you can update this, use this on, of course, Windows and Pi. I'm gonna be trying this on the Pi, and we'll get started. Here we go, guys. A lot of moving parts here. Let me go ahead and make sure that you get all your tools. First, you need the 108 version of the Sinden Lightgun software. So go ahead and download that. And that software will give you the latest and greatest, a lot of tweaks, fixes, and of course, support for the pedal. So let's see. Once that's done, you're gonna go ahead and go up and go to the pedal guide, which is here. And the pedal guide has a lot of information. The pedal does come out as a keyboard registered as letter C. And on the Windows side, there's a tool so that you can change that if you like. And of course, the pedal support new software. Scroll down to the Sinden Lightgun software down here for Linux, and we're going to download that. And it also gives you instructions on how to update your Pi so that you can play timecrisis using the pedal and some of the variables values that you're going to use in your RetroArch config file for the PlayStation after you update it. Pretty cool. So now that we got these two downloaded, let's open them up. So as you can see, I've already downloaded these before to the software release. So for those of you that are not using the pedal, you don't need anything but this folder here. And you're going to go into Linux as usual, and Pi, Lightgun, and of course you get all your new files right here for player 1, and of course named appropriately for player 2. And you guys know how to do that. If not, then please check the wiki and the instructions are there. Now if you have a pedal, there's a couple things that you can do. You want to update the existing default barebones 8 Lightgun folder. All you have to do is take this folder, let's go up one to Home, Pi, Lightgun, and you're just going to overwrite it. Bingo. Done. And that's it. Now, the only reason that you would not want to do that, like I said, is if inside your Lightgun folder, you have, let's say in player 1, this file is going to overwrite, obviously, your config file, and you don't want that to happen. I wouldn't do this. This is what I'd recommend. If you don't have any settings, it's easy. If you do have settings you want to keep, then we got to do this a little bit more manual. This is what we do. So just to make sure you're keeping up, because I know I might be moving a little bit fast. So under the release pedal folder, there it is, updating existing Linux builds. So you can do the default, Lightgun, boom, that takes you all the way to default, but that will take all your settings in your config files back to default, but it does get you to 1.8. Now if you want to do it where you don't lose your information inside the LightgunMono.exe config, then we have to do this. So we're going to take these 3 files and you would drag and drop them over. Cool. Now you didn't overwrite your config file and you got the files necessary for 1.8. And what you got to do is go to each one. So then you would go to the player 1 recoil, and then you would go to player 1 recoil auto, same thing, and then you would go, then you would go on to your player 2 folders, same thing, drag those 3 over, and the only difference here is obviously you want to delete the old LiggunMono.exe2 or mono2.exe, and we're going to rename this to mono2. Simple. And you just got to do that for each of those folders. So that'll take a minute. You'll go through each one of these. I would highly recommend you take your time, watch what you're doing, don't get too much in a rush. That way you don't mess anything up. And the only reason, like I said, the only reason you want to do this is if you have something in your config file, such as your, brightness, contrast, offsets, whatever it is, your custom configs that you don't want to lose. Okay, that's the only reason that you would do it this way. Otherwise, you would go right into the update existing Lightgun folder and go all the way up to Home Pi, and you would just drag this whole thing over, and that would be it. And it would just, it would copy over everything, right? I'm doing both right now, just an example of, the video. But if you had specific settings, like I said, for camera and exposure, you would not want to do that, okay? You would stick just to these 3 files within each of the folders. So just continue on until you finish all the player 1 and player 2, files. Like I said, make sure you rename the Lightgun Mono to LightgunMono.exe after you delete, the other one. So if this was my last folder, I would drag it over, I'd get rid of the Mono 2, and rename the 1.81 version anyway, the Lightgun Mono 2, and that's how I would update them all, and I would keep my exe config intact and unedited for each system. Cool. All right, so now that we've done all the updates to the 1.8 software, the next thing that you got to do inside each folder is we're going to update the LightgunMono.exe config. Now, what we're going to change is one item and one item only. So you want to right click, go to edit, and then you can select whatever editor you want. I like Notepad++, so let's close this out. I like Notepad++. Now, if you open the README, it kind of walks you through this, and I'm just showing you visually so that you kind of get an idea of what you got to do. In the config file, okay, normally it points to the device on TTY-ACM either 0 for player 1 or 1 for player 2. And what we're going to do to make this 1.8 compatible to work with the pedal is we're going to change that value to a 0 or a 1, depending on if it's player 1 or player 2. So we're going to go ahead and right click, edit. Actually, I already opened it, didn't I? Yeah. And I've already changed this one. Well, let me show you what the values look like. All right, this is what it looks like. So before it was dev TTY-ACM 0, and we're just going to put a 0 there. And then you're going to hit save. And then you're done. So then you'll go to recoil. You'll do the same thing. Go to Notepad++. You'll make this a 0. Save. And go to the next one. And it's that simple. And when you go to player 2, inside the exe config files, what you want to do is instead of a 1, instead of a 0, make sure it's a 1. And that's it. And you hit save, and you're done. Like I said, the only reason that you're doing this is because you wanted to keep your config settings and didn't want to overwrite them. If you don't care and you just want to do this fast and easy, then go to the update existing default BB8 Lightgun folder and go all the way to the top. Take your light gun, just drag it over, and everything is done. But you may have to recalibrate and look at your exposure and contrast and brightness. So it depends on what you want to do. Okay. One's manual, it doesn't take too long. The other one takes a little bit. All right, so I know that was a little bit much, but don't worry. This is all available for download. The barebones 8.1 users can use this and quickly get set up to the defaults, or you can manually drag your files over like I showed you so that you can keep your configs. There'll also be instructions in the wiki, and there's also README files in here as well. That's it. So next, what I want to show you is how to make sure that your PlayStation Core lr-pcsx rearmed is ready to go. So on the website, let's go back to it real quick. So on the website, there are instructions here, but I'm going to go ahead and walk you through it and show you what you got to do. First, you want to update PCSX rearm to the latest binary version, and you can do that under RetroPie setup. So let's do that now. All right, to do an update on your lr-pcsx rearmed core, all you want to do, go to RetroPie setup, and when it loads up, we're going to go to manage packages right here, and we're going to go down to manage main package. And just hold the down key until you get to it. It'll be in alphabetical order. And there it is. Now, go ahead and select OK. It'll check, and it'll ask you if you want to reinstall it or if you want to install from source. Yours will say, do you want to update it? And you'll say yes to binary. Since I've already done this, I don't have that option. So I'm going to go ahead and back out. But that's where you do it. And once you're done, you'll perform a reboot. And that'll be it. Then you want to update the config with these values. So there's two ways to do this. One, you can just drag over the RetroArch config file, or if you have your own configurations and you want to manually do that, we can do that as well. So let's do it. So in the folder, pedal, because remember this is specifically for the pedal, In the update existing Linux build folder, there is a retroarch.cfg. As the website showed you, this is the CFG that we're going to update. This is the global config for PlayStation on the RetroPie. So I'm going to go up all the way to opt, RetroPie, configs, and we're going to go down to PSX, and there's the retroarch.cfg. Now, one of the things I highly recommend is make a copy, and then we're going to paste, and then rename this to something. I made a copy of mine, and I called it RetroArch CFG Orig for original. You can name it whatever you like, but definitely make a backup. Once you've made a backup, go ahead and do a right click, and we're going to edit. This is how you do it manually. So if you want to do this manually, you'd open it up. And what we're going to do is we're going to take let's go ahead and use the website. We're going to go ahead and use the website, and we're going to copy and go over here, and we're going to do a quick search and do a find, and we're going to make this 260 player 2. If you only have one player, obviously you don't need to do this for player 2, but these are the button setups that we recommended that will allow you to use the pedal or the games. I even tried it in Die Hard. Very cool. The grenade basically does, or sorry, the pedal does the grenade in Die Hard. Basically whatever the lever action, the pump lever action button does, then that's what it'll do for the pedal. So the only key here is player 1 will have the default C, and since that's not changeable, that's what we're going to code it as. And that's how you add the pedal into the setup. So all you got to do is just copy paste and then do a find inside your notepad or whatever editor you're using, and just make sure the value is what it's supposed to do. Just be very careful, like last time. Take your time with this, don't rush, and make sure that you're matching it exactly, or else you'll have a lot of issues and sometimes you'll wonder what's going on. And the reason is because there's a little syntax error. I highly recommend copy pasting. Do not type these in here. They're very long and tedious, and it will take you a while. Yes, you can also do this through the R GUI. Personally, I don't like the R GUI. I do everything manually, but you can do that if you like. Anyway, once you are done with these, we're going to go down to the last one just to show you real quick. There you go. And so for now, the pedal is assigned the lowercase c. You can change that later on. There's going to be a tool that allows you to do that, but for now, it's going to be the lowercase c. And there you go. Now player 1 can use the pedal in the games. Too easy. You just hit save and you're done. If you don't want to do a control F and you don't want to do all the find and all that, let's take a look. So here's the one that comes with it under the pedal folder. So if you go to aux A, it's already set up. So if you don't have any configs that you're worried about, just drag it over, overwrite the one that's in there, and you're done. You don't have to worry about, doing each one individually. It's just like the Mono.exe config file. It's only if you want to keep your current settings and you have customized settings that you don't want to lose. Okay? Otherwise, it's going to be set to the default with some of those additional values that you saw on the website. This one here. Also, one last thing, if you make these changes here into the RetroArch config file for the PlayStation, you will still be fine even if you're not using a pedal. It works just fine. Okay, so just putting that out there. This one here will not get used, but the rest of them work just fine. Also, one last note, please do not update your RetroArch or other cores, or else you're going to incur a lot of errors and have some hair-pulling experiences. If you're going to do that, do a backup, and that way you can restore back to it if you have any issues. The only core you're updating, I say it again, the only core you're updating in this video is the lr-pcsx rearmed core from binary. And that's only if you are trying to get the latest and greatest so that you can map the buttons, which allows you to do what we just did and map the buttons. Otherwise, you're on your own and you're out in left field and you're no longer bare bones, and that's it, guys. Let's get to practicing. First thing you're going to want to do, especially if you've upgraded your mono config file, is calibrate your guns. So go ahead and go to Sinden Lightgun test player 1, start that up. You'll notice the output is very different from the previous versions. In addition to that, you're going to have no more seg fault error. Yay! Anyway, once you get your gun calibrated, go ahead and go on to player 2 if you have player 2 and do the same. There won't be any necessary actions at this point to do any actions for the pedal, so go ahead from here and start up your game.
Action! Get out! Out! Action!
Setting up the pedal for MAME is pretty simple. Just use your tab key and bring up the on-screen display menu and go to the button that you want to set and press enter, and then just press the press the pedal and it will register as the keyboard letter you assign the pedal, in this case keyboard C. And you can give it to player 1 or player 2 or whatever your setup is. Check it out.
Excellent. Excellent. It's Judgment Day.